Good evening and welcome to WANA Live, the reading series of the Writers Association of Northern Appalachia. I'm your host, Damian Dressick. This is your other host,
Christina Fasonic. You never get that right.
You know,
People
I
just
did.
know.
I had it right for a long. Are we just coming live now?
No, we're live.
Well, if we didn't already say greetings from the WANA Live, the reading series.
People know who we are. People know who we are.
They do? Oh, good.
Yeah, it
good.
says right on the bottom of the screen.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I don't know. I've had a really long day.
Same. You know what I did today? This is exciting news for any writer. I recorded the first half of one of my books as an audiobook today. And so if I sound a bit hoarse during the broadcast, it's because of that. I read 71 pages. That's a lot. And I'm hoping that I do as well with the second half, but it's very tiring reading a half a book at one time out loud.
So are you going to tell our audience when it's done and how they can get a hold of that audiobook?
Absolutely. As soon as I know, but it has to go through post-production once I'm finished reading. So
It's
I'm
post.
excited. Yeah,
All right.
post-production.
Cool. Hey, do we have a reader tonight?
We do have a reader tonight, and
Oh,
I
wow.
am really excited about our reader tonight because we have multiple connections and our streams seem to cross over and over again, but it's like we never have time to have a really good conversation. So here we go. Julia Flint is a writer from Northern Appalachia, now living in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. She is a graduate of Ohio University and has worked for the Appalachian Institute at Wheeling Jesuit University, now Wheeling University, as an instructor with Ohio University's Global Health Initiative and as a research assistant for education and community health projects based in Ohio. And I'm excited to bring Julia out.
Sounds pretty cool.
Julia!
Hello.
It's
Hello.
so weird how many ways that our paths have crossed. We know the same people, even your cousin. I know your cousin. And
Exactly.
but we didn't meet until we were in Pittsburgh at the Scribble Lit Fest.
I know. It is one of those just destined to happen at some point.
Yes, and we're here in this town, because Wheeling University is is actually in my neighborhood.
Wow. Yep.
So yes, well, tell us about the book. It's brand new.
Brand new. So it'll be officially out in a couple of weeks. Book is We Were Promised: How an Appalachian Grandmother Fought a Corporate Giant.
That is a sharp-looking book.
Oh, thank you. I was so happy with the photo on the cover. So, the book is about retirees from the Century Aluminum plant in Ravenswood, West Virginia, a little bit south of Parkersburg, and the retirees in 2010 were told by the company that it was ending the retiree insurance plans. So these were union workers. The retirement plans were negotiated as part of their union contract. And so there was pushback by a handful of retirees and really spearheaded by the wife of a retiree, Karen Gorel. So the book covers really Karen's story for the 7 years that she spent picketing, protesting, eventually getting to reach a settlement.
And that's unfortunately a common story. I know a number of people who, they exchange during their working careers lesser pay with the idea that they were told in their contracts that they'll have good benefits when they retire. So they, didn't take pay increases, or they took less pay increases to get it, only to find out when they retired that they lost those promised benefits. So I'm so glad that you're bringing this to light.
Well, not only that, I mean, I don't need to look too far, except my father working for Bethlehem Steel.
Mm-hmm.
They took jobs they otherwise might not have taken. I mean, there was huge promises made. You do this, that's dangerous, and you can be very seriously injured. And, he was, and many other men were. And we're going to take care of you. And then they, took up the money and ran.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'm so glad that you're talking about this.
Absolutely. It's a really good, it's an important story that needs to be told, for sure.
So you're going to read an excerpt for us
Yes,
tonight,
and
right?
yeah, read an excerpt. And I will say there too that my dad also worked for Wheeling Steel in 2011 or 12 when it, the company, was it Severstal at that point, filed bankruptcy. He also lost his health benefits. So it was a personal story for me also.
Well, we will disappear and let you do that, and we'll be back.
Okay, so I'm going to read a section that's about halfway through the book. This is about a year into the loss of benefits and the campaign to get them back. I'm going to start, though, with just one paragraph that gives maybe a little context and a little education. So in 1965, when Kaiser ran the Ravenswood plant, CEOs on average earned 21 times what the average worker earned in a year. CEOs earned more than 60 times as much as the average worker in 1989 and 117 times by 1995. By 2009, CEO earnings had ballooned to 180 times an average worker's pay, and the gap has continued to widen. At the same time, companies publicly lamented the challenges of maintaining their obligations to retirees, carrying on as if workers themselves were to blame for living long enough to retire and expecting to do so with dignity and security. As Ellen E. Schultz documents in Retirement Heist, American companies raided workers' pension and retirement accounts to boost profits. At the same time, companies often built up lavish retirement packages for executives. Schultz agreed with companies' cries that America was facing a retirement crisis, but she makes clear it was no accident. Companies sacrificed their workers in order to benefit executives and shareholders. And then this then picks up, so this takes place in December of 2011. Karen felt apprehensive walking into the union hall for the retiree meeting in mid-December. She remained standing when she entered the back room, resting her hands on the back of one of the folding chairs. Conversations quieted one after another, the retirees wondering if she might have some news about the restart. Karen always had some news to share. She was always talking to someone, always researching something, planning something. She looked a little nervous, though, fidgeting with the gold rings she wore. "I know you all are going to think I've lost my mind," she told the retirees, rolling her eyes when someone teased that they knew she had but loved her anyway. "Well, I have an idea," she said, sounding serious, "and I can't do it on my own." "Tell us what to do, boss," someone replied without a hint of hesitation. "If you say no, I'll understand," she continued. "I know it's winter, but I say we get some tents and set up camp at the entrance to the plant, like the kids have done in New York and everywhere else. We should tell Century that we aren't leaving until we get our health care. We should occupy Century Aluminum." She held her breath for a moment, listening to the shuffling of bodies and chairs and the muffled sounds from the two offices near the front of the building. She wanted to give the retirees a moment to think about what she was asking of them. "Karen, could we wait until after Christmas?" Hoot asked, breaking the silence. Luther Hoot Gibson was one of the oldest retirees fighting alongside Karen. He had hired on at the Ravenswood plant in 1958 after serving in the military. He started out sweeping floors and worked several jobs before training to be a millwright. He worked for almost 40 years, half of those on swing shift, before retiring in 1996. Hoot and his wife Lois, both active with the retirees campaign, had been high school sweethearts. They married in 1955, raised their two boys out of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, and their kids were now grown with kids of their own. Hoot had been looking forward to seeing them over the holidays. "No, Hoot, we can't wait," Karen said firmly. "The legislature starts up in January, and Century will want to get that bill passed this year. We need to do it now." It was a big ask, she knew. At just shy of 62 years old, Karen was one of the youngest retirees committed to fighting Century. She took in the faces in the room, now questioning if she was crazy. Could she really ask these men and women to put their lives on hold, to miss Christmas, to sleep in tents during the coldest months of the year? "I know this is," Karen began, prepared to plead her case. "Okay then, you heard her," Hoot said, looking around the room as he raised his hand. "Who's with me?" 2 more hands went up, then 3, then more. Jim Weltner, Ripcord, John Morris, Les Shockey, and others were on board. Karen could feel the tears welling up as she looked around the room. Before she could say anything more, the retirees were discussing the logistics of where to find tents and what supplies they would need to pull together. Karen created a Facebook page for their protest that afternoon. She put out a call for donations, asking for firewood, inflatable mattresses, warm blankets, Christmas decorations, and prayers. In her next post, she shared that while Century's former CEO was handed $6 million once he was no longer of use to the company, West Virginia workers were left to die with no health insurance in their retirement. And still, $6 million wasn't enough for Kruger. We are the 99%, she wrote, announcing that the retirees Occupy Century Aluminum protest would begin on December 18th, 2011.
Usually we talk about on the show, we talk about somebody's prose or this, I mostly just want to start just by saying thank you. Thank you for bringing this story to more people, because I said what I said at the beginning of the show that my own family has gone through this. I was unaware of the story that you're telling now, and I think it's a really important story to get out there, because this is exactly what so many people are going through, but they don't know it's such a shared experience that our bought and paid for government is enabling a very few people to get, to benefit tremendously on the backs of many people who, as you said, 40 years. I think that there's a lot there's a lot of lip service paid right now toward the concept of the American dream, but I'm not, I think I'm not alone, probably even being concerned about exactly who gets to be a dreamer and whose American dream is being turned into a nightmare.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is not lost to me that the government is shut down right now because of healthcare, right? Healthcare benefits are a major question, and just I think because my dad went through this, that it was 5 years later that I met the retirees. But I think having just seen that experience firsthand, it made me recognize, one, that it is so common, but also that it was incredible that they were able to get a settlement, and this was out of court. The retirees launched their own campaign. Essentially, the union took the company to court, and then these retirees said, "We don't want to sort of leave our fate in the hands of a judge." And they also recognized the union was upfront in that these cases can last 5-10 years, which isn't, people don't have that time.
Especially retired persons who worked in situations that compromised their well-being during the time that they worked there. I mean, factory work, chemical plant work, all those jobs are incredibly taxing to bodies. And so I'm sure that they were aware that at that point, especially after you retire, your healthcare needs can go up. I wonder sometimes, and I've wondered this for years, how much, how different our country would be if we had universal health care, because then people wouldn't have to work for their health care. They wouldn't have to be stuck in situations where they're not contributing in the way that they want to contribute because they're working just for healthcare benefits primarily. And I've thought about that so often, like how we're being held back, I think, as a country because we don't have access to universal health care. And this is an example.
My understanding is at present, medical bills are the leading cause of bankruptcy in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I definitely believe that. And So I want to know a little bit more about the research that you did, because I know you interviewed the people that are involved in the story, but what else did you do in terms of, you know, first, like understanding the story better, but also then trying to weave I know multiple texts into a story.
Hmm. Yeah, the story really started with, it was like, the retirees telling of the story is how I was introduced to it. I heard Karen give a presentation. I heard her speak a couple of times, and was recording and taking notes. And from there, was, so met with Karen when we discussed that I wanted to work on the story. I sort of thought at first that I was going to publish an article, but she still had a collection of materials that she had put together. Essentially, she had newspaper articles, she had emails she had written, she had like flyers that they had made. And so she handed those over and I got to piece things together. And from there, it was going, just research into any and all news coverage. There were some books that were really important for like understanding context. There's a book about the strike it was a 2-year lockout, a 2-year labor battle in Ravenswood that ended in the early 90s. And so from, I think the interview sort of gave me a big picture. And then there was just incredible news coverage of the retirees, actually, primarily from, just West Virginia newspapers. But that helped really fill in the timeline, as did, the artifacts. Karen had ticket stubs, from when they bought plane tickets or.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Good for her for keeping that, because that's one of the problems. I read a lot about history too, and sometimes you're like, if only I could find blank, whatever artifact that is, to corroborate this other thing. Like somebody will tell you something, this happened, but you can't find a secondary or a tertiary source that will corroborate that oral narrative. And you're like, oh, if only it existed. So good for her for keeping track of those materials. That's amazing.
Yeah. And I think it really was like just the fact that we met, right? Because I had in mind when I did think about this being a book that, if I didn't start on it, like who knows what would happen to those boxes of materials, yeah. Right? And I felt fortunate to be able to say, like, this is a story that we should preserve now, because I knew if somebody encountered it in 50 years or something, that it would be worth uncovering and telling. And so it was just incredible, that we were able to connect when we did.
Well, where are the papers now? Did she donate them, or did she take them back, or what is the plan for those?
Yeah, so she does have them. I made, I think, photocopies of everything that I used in the book. So we each, so I have a limited set, but we've talked about like getting them donated to the archives, but nothing has officially happened yet.
That's exciting that they exist and that you've poured through them. And I think part of telling a story like this is also context, as you said, because you're not just telling the story about this happening to these people, but what is the bigger story about labor rights in the United States and in West Virginia? Because we know, we're the home of red bandanas and all the things that we have done in terms of advancing labor rights and labor activism, and how it connects to that history, because this didn't just happen in a moment in time, but as part of a continuum of time.
Yeah, exactly. And this book really is sort of narrowly focused on the story, because I'm not approaching it as a historian or like a labor scholar. So, but my hope, right, is that it can be fit into those bigger narratives and context by just being sort of a documenting this specific case of working class resistance.
History's made up of people. So if somebody was interested in, who is local, seeing you read live, where might they do such a thing?
So in a few weeks on October 18th.
23rd? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. 23rd to on October 18th, there's an event in Ravenswood, West Virginia. And that one is very special because the retirees in the book will be there with me. And so it's really like a reunion and
So exciting.
yeah, and a reading. And then October 23rd in Pittsburgh at Stay Gold Books.
That is amazing. Thank you again for doing this work. And can it be pre-ordered at this point?
Yes. Yeah. So you can find it online. I think any bookstore also should be able to order and get a copy in by October 14th.
And what is the press?
University of Kentucky.
That's
University
what I thought.
Yeah.
And that's exciting. So if you are out there and you're watching at any point, definitely go check out this book, pre-order it, try to attend one of Julia's readings. And I hope to see more of this kind of work being done, because there's so many stories just like this that needs to be told.
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
people can triumph over big corporations, even if we think we can't. We can if we come together and keep agitating.
Yes, these stories are always so important to share.
Thank you so much, Julia.
Oh, thank you both so much.
And thank you all for watching.
Yes, we'll see everybody next week.
All right.
Have a
great
good
night.